This video is to show how the Fire Safety Basics software works. It's a fairly simple presentation in itself. Gives subjects such as the Personal Emergency Evacuation Plan, PEEP, fire extinguisher types, how fires start, and so forth. We'll start though with the two buttons over to the left. We have a Manager Login button. There's a login I set up earlier just for this presentation, so I'll just key that in. This page shows the view that the managers get of the people who've done the test at the end of the session, the result, the date of test, and the date for review, which can be set by the administrators. We go to the home page. We can see the administration login. Just put basic login I've created for that. And again, the administrators can view all of them, a bit like the manager, and they can set the review date over here on the right. Go back to administration. They can create new managers who can view the system. So we could put any name we like in there. That's just basic first name in there. And you'll notice every time you enter a name on this, a new line appears below, and you can create as many managers as you want to in that. The same is true of the administrators and the users, so there's no limit on how many people you can enter into these sections. We'll save it with a little icon button up here. Go back to administration, and that's the same for create new user, create managers, administrators. It's the same for each of those. If we go back to the home button, we can see that the system itself is navigated by buttons at the top and at the bottom of the page. Go on to next. That tells us about our Personal Emergency Evacuation Plan, the PEEP, and that covers things like where your nearest exits are, gets people to think about what they're going to do if there is an actual emergency. Go on to next. Shows some examples of fire exit signs, gives them details such as not using elevators in most buildings unless there's a good reason to. Talks about the basics of fire extinguishers and using them as a means of escape from a building. Fire assembly points, because your emergency exit plan doesn't end when you get out of the building. You've still got to go to your emergency exit assembly point, and you've still got to pay attention to what the fire marshals are telling you. It also gives details of types of fire extinguisher, such as carbon dioxide in this case, water fire extinguishers, foam extinguishers, powder, a little illustration of why powder is bad to use indoors. It gets everywhere. Wet chemical. We talk about hazards that can build up in the workplace. So if people see things like this, they should be reporting them to managers or supervisors. Sources of ignition, what not to do with signs like this. Also to look for electrical hazards, sparks of any kind, anything that can cause a fire should be reported to supervisors and managers. Things like this should be reported as well. Fire exits blocked. There could be plants outside the door that are growing. They should all be reported. That's what the text talks about. And the fire triangle, the oxygen, heat, fuel triangle. The text here talks about how that relates to the subjects we've just looked at. What's the source of flammable material, fuel, and oxygen, of course. And after that, we go to a pre-test page, which tells people that if they're happy to go to the test, they can continue here. But if they're not happy and they need to revise, then they can use these buttons to go back to the sections and just double check that they know what has been said. We can continue to the test. And to start the test, we just click the little yellow button up on the top left here. Gives the basic details of the employee. The password is required so that we know exactly who has done the test and somebody isn't sitting it for them. or at least we've got some verification going on there. There's a date of test and date for review. Date for review is set by the administrator. If we save and submit it, well, we haven't entered any details here, so the score is 0, but the score has been saved to the system. Once that's done, end of session. Thank you for taking part in the training. Your manager will contact you. And that's all there is to it. If you have any questions about that, contact me. I'll be more than happy to answer them.